Hey guys, it's Nathan and welcome to Hail. I just wanted to welcome all you new subscribers and also invite you to hit the notification bell so that whenever I make a new video, you guys can be notified of it. I love hearing your guys' feedback and reading your comments, and so it would mean a lot to me if you hit that notification bell so that I can know that I'm making these videos for people that are actually watching them. Anyways, on to today's video. So recently I was on YouTube and I saw someone do a tier ranking of every book series they have ever read, and I thought that was a really cool idea. However, I'm going to change it a little bit and talk about every movie series that I have ever seen. On her video, she had about 41, 42 books series that she has read. Oddly enough, I have about 42 movie series that I've seen. As far as movie series go, I've seen much more than that, but I made a rule that it has to be at least a trilogy, and I have to have seen the whole entire trilogy at least. So I guess first off, I should explain my tier ranking to you guys. First off, I have perfect. So I have a journal that I keep, and for whatever reason, whenever I write in my journal and I use the word perfect, I never say perfect, I say perfect, which is apparently the way Curly says it from the Three Stooges. I found that out the other day. These are movie series that, I mean, they may not be perfect to everyone, but in my eyes, they are a perfect series. I love them so much. Nearly perfect is pretty self-explanatory. It's just doesn't quite reach the perfect scale, but I still love it. Great is, I really like it, but there may be a bad movie or two in the series, and so it doesn't quite reach the perfect scale. Good is pretty self-explanatory. It's a good series, but don't love it, don't hate it. Dece, now this is short for decent. I've used this term to describe movies for a few years now, and it's basically the same as if saying the movie was pretty good. I didn't love it. I didn't even really necessarily like it a lot, but I definitely didn't hate it. So it's just the tier above bad. And then bad is just obvious. It's just a bad series. So we've got the Avengers. I know that technically the Avengers are part of the MCU series, but I went ahead and just took the liberty of taking out each trilogy from the MCU and placing it as its own trilogy because I feel like that's a lot easier than grading the entire MCU. Okay, so I love Infinity War and Endgame, but I don't love Avengers and Age of Ultron. I think those movies are pretty good, but no, I think they're good. They're just a little cheesy, so I'm going to put Avengers in the great category. Back to the Future. Time to get controversial. I feel like I don't love Back to the Future as much as everyone else does. I definitely consider it a classic, and I really like the first movie, but the second movie and third movie I like as well, but just not as much as everyone else. And so I still like it, but it's not in nearly perfect, or let alone perfect. I'm going to put it in great. The Bourne series is a series that I love, at least the first three movies. I love the trilogy, honestly. And then the Jeremy Renner one, Bourne Legacy, I was not a fan of, and I didn't like Jason Bourne either too much. This might contradict myself on other series I talk about, but I just want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I want to give it the praise it deserves. I'm going to put it in nearly perfect, because I love that series. Next up, we've got the Captain America trilogy. First Captain America is not anything too great, but Winter Soldier and Civil War are really good, in my opinion. Since those two movies weigh out the bad movie, I'm going to put it in great. Cars. So Cars is literally the epitome of the word dece. It's okay. I don't mind the first one, I don't like the second one, and I don't mind the third one, but they're not movies that I plan on rewatching anytime soon, so Dece is the best thing for that. The Daniel Craig Bond movies. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen these in a long time. I've seen them all, but it's been a while. But because I'm not the biggest Bond fan and I don't remember them too well, I'm just going to go ahead and put them in Dece. I think Skyfall and Casino Royale are two really good movies, but everything else, like Quantum of Solace and I don't even know what the other one is called. I can't even think of it right now. That just shows my knowledge with the Bond series. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone. Chronicles of Narnia. This is going to be fun because some of these series are from my childhood, so yeah, there's that for you. We've got The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And I'll be honest, really, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that's the only one that I really like, and even at that, it's nothing too amazing. I loved it as a kid, but today, it's nothing too special. I'm going to put it in the Dece category. Halloween Town. Oh gosh. Okay. This is where it gets hard because Clearly this series is nostalgic for me. I love this series from my childhood, especially the first two movies, but 3 and 4 are awful. Straight up, I am putting it in the Dees category. Halloween Town is a Dees. It's a pretty good series. And Harry Potter, we get to our Feust Perfect movie series. I love Harry Potter, if you guys didn't know. I'm currently rereading the series. Got my first book right here, rented it from the library because all my books are at home, so that's fun. But yeah, I love Harry Potter. It's actually probably my favorite series of all time. And speaking of perfect series, we've got High School Musical, and we're just going to put it right there. Okay, next up I'm going to talk about the Hobbit trilogy. This is kind of hard because technically Hobbit is part of the Lord of the Rings series, and so it's a 6-movie series, but I just differentiate them so much, and I'm going to contradict myself later because I consider the Star Wars series as the 9-movie saga instead of 3 separate trilogies, but oh well, it's my channel, my rules, whatever. Yeah. I don't think The Hobbit is as bad as other people say. It's not nearly as close to as good as The Lord of the Rings, but they're still fun movies, and for that, I'm going to put it in the good category. Next up, we have How to Train Your Dragon. I love the first How to Train Your Dragon. I think it is such a great movie. But the second and third one I really like. I don't love them as much as the first one, but I still really enjoy them, and I love the story of Hiccup and Toothless. I'm going to put How to Train Your Dragon trilogy in the nearly perfect category. Now, hopefully they stop. I don't want another How to Train Your Dragon movie. I think it's a great trilogy the way it is. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm sorry. I don't think they're awful movies. They're not anything like good movies, but I think they're still funny, and, I enjoyed them when I was a kid, and so... You know what? Forget it. I'm going to put it in the D's category. Diary of a Wimpy Kid and 007 in the same tier. We've lived to that day, people. Hunger Games is a series that I really like, actually. The first 2 movies are really good, I think. The first one's not the best adaptation of the book in the world, but the second one has a really good adaptation from the book to the screen. However, I think Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 did not need to be split into 2 films. I thought that was a really dumb decision. It just meant a lot of long scenes that were kind of slow and annoying. And so for that reason, it's not a perfect series to me, but I still do really love it. And I grew up with them in high school, so they mean a lot to me. I'm going to put nearly perfect. The Dark Knight trilogy from Christopher Nolan. I'm going to put this one in perfect because I love Batman Begins. I love The Dark Knight. I love The Dark Knight Rises too. It has so many flaws to it, but I still enjoy it. And Christopher Nolan's cinematography is something else. I love that he shoots with IMAX cameras. He's amazing. And then after that, we have the Batman series starting with the Tim Burton movie with Michael Keaton and the Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, which those are really the only 2 that I enjoy. And even at that, I don't love them too much. And so... I'm going to put that series as D's because I don't know when Joel Schumacher hits the scene, but whenever he hits the scene, they're not very good movies. Some of them are fun to watch just to make fun of, though. Okay, next we've got Insidious, and I like the first one. It's a little weird, but I like it. Everything after that I think is pretty bad. I'm going to put Insidious in the bad category. They're fun movies to watch, though. Iron Man, that's kind of a tricky one because I really like the first one, but I'm not a fan of the second and third one, so... I'm going to put Iron Man in D's. Solid first movie, weak second and third movie. Jumanji. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I just touched my face. Okay, we're good. Jumanji. Okay, hear me out. The first one is nostalgic for me, and honestly, I like the new ones that are coming out with Jack Black, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan. I like those movies. I think they're really fun to watch, and I saw both of them in the theaters, so... For that, forget it. I'm going to put it in the good category. They're not perfect movies. They're far from it, but they're fun, and I like them. Jurassic Park. This might be my most controversial decision I make on this video. I love the first Jurassic Park. It is seriously in my top 25 favorite movies of all time. But everything after that is not good in my opinion. Jurassic World is okay, but... it's nothing too great. I feel like every movie that has followed Jurassic Park hasn't even come close to the original. And so for that, I'm going to say it's a bad series. Sorry. Then we've got Kung Fu Panda. I really like the first movie. And the second and third movie are fine, but they're just kind of forgettable. So I'm going to put it in the good category because I do remember liking them when I did see them. The Lion King. Now this is an interesting situation because the first Lion King is one of my favorite movies of all time, as I'm sure you are all very aware. But the second Lion King I'm not a big fan of. I feel like it takes everything that's special from the first one and just kind of overuses it like crazy, which I don't like. It ruins the significance of the first one. However, I do like some of the songs from the second one. And then Lion King 1.5 is a really funny movie. It's not anywhere close to the first one, but it's just a fun movie. So I'm going to put The Lion King in the decent category. It's pretty good. Lord of the Rings, we've made it, people, to another perfect series. I don't know what else I can say that people haven't already said. It's just an epic. Every movie is so good. You go through so many different emotions while watching this trilogy. It's perfect. It is. It really is. I haven't read the books yet. I have a plan to do it someday. Someday. It's on my bucket list. I even own them, but just haven't read them. So there's that for you. Madagascar. So I don't remember like any of these movies. So I'm just going off of if I remember liking them or not. And I remember liking them. But for the fact that I have no interest in rewatching them anytime soon, and I don't remember them too well, I'm just going to put it in the decent category because I don't remember them being awful or anything. Then we got Mission Impossible, which is a series that I actually really enjoy. The second one is awful, but honestly, every other movie in the franchise I think is really good. And so I'm going to put Mission Impossible in the great tier. I don't think it reaches the nearly perfect tier because I don't have that emotional attachment to it that I do with movies that are in the nearly perfect or perfect tier. However, I do think that they are really good movies, so great is a fitting category for it. Night at the Museum. So I was 10 years old when the first movie came out. I grew up with the other movies. It's far from a great trilogy or a perfect trilogy or anything like that. But I like Ben Stiller and I think they're funny. And I think it's kind of just a fun concept. And I loved it as a kid. So for that, I'm going to put it in the good category. And then we've got the Oceans series. I was about to say Oceans trilogy, but we recently got Oceans 8 in 2018, which I thought was a good add-on, actually. Oceans 11 is definitely the best one. 12 and 13 are good, too. And 8 is the weakest of the series, but I still like it. I just love a good heist film. And so I'm going to put Oceans 11 in the great category. It's kind of the same situation as Mission Impossible, where I love basically all the movies in the series. It's just I'm not emotionally attached to them like I am the perfect scales. Pirates of the Caribbean. So this is interesting because I absolutely love the trilogy, but I don't like the two movies that follow it. On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales. Don't like those movies like at all, but I love the trilogy and I grew up with them. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland, and I'm emotionally attached to it. Like, I love this series and I love the iconic theme from it too. So I'm going to put it in nearly perfect. It's actually kind of on the same, literally the same tier as Bourne series, where I love the trilogy, don't like the two movies that follow. Next, we've got the Planet of the Apes series. This is the one that starts with Charlton Heston. I think it came out in '68. The first Planet of the Apes movie, that movie's iconic. It is so good and really has that Twilight Zone vibe to it, which makes sense because I believe Rod Serling was a writer for it. But after that first movie, the series is absolute garbage. I watched it all for the first time about 2 years ago. I did not like any movie after the first one, and so I'm going to put that in the bad category. Next, we've got the Indiana Jones series. So I feel like I've made this pretty public on my channel. I don't know. I love the first one, and I love the third one, with the third one being my favorite one. The second one, I think, is a fun movie. It's just cheesy, but I like it. And when I was a kid, it was my favorite one just because of how adventurous it is and how fun it is. But when I saw it as an adult, I realized just kind of how dumb it is. And the fourth one gets a lot of hate, which is somewhat deserved. It's not a great Indiana Jones film. It's a fun action film, but it's just not a good Indiana Jones film. But I don't hate it. So for that and for my attachment to the Indiana Jones series, I'm also going to pull a Bourne and Pirates of the Caribbean and put it in the nearly perfect category because I love this series. I just love the character of Indiana Jones and the adventures he goes on. I might have given hate to the original Planet of the Apes series, but I have nothing but love to show to the reboot trilogy. It's a perfect trilogy. There's not one movie in the series that I dislike. I love every movie. I love Caesar, the score, the visuals, and every movie in his trilogy deserved an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. I think the third movie even deserved a Best Picture nomination, or at least a Best Actor nomination for Andy Serkis. I actually have a whole video essay on why I love this trilogy, so if you want to watch it, then there'll be a card somewhere up here that you can click. The Rocky series is rough because I think we have about 8 movies in the series now, and they just confirmed a 9th one for Creed 3. This is hard because there's only 2 of those movies that I really love, and that's the first Rocky and the first Creed. Everything else I either don't like or it's just okay. And so for that, I'm going to put Rocky in the decent category because it's definitely not the movies that I don't like. I don't dislike them enough to be in the bad tier, if that makes any sense. The Santa Claus trilogy. So, okay, this is going to be a little biased because I grew up with these movies and they're very nostalgic for me. The first one, still to this day, is one of my favorite Christmas movies ever. And the second one, while it's not a very good film, it's just super nostalgic for me. I saw it in theaters. Like, that's saying a lot. And so I loved it. The third one is just pretty garbage, though. So I'm going to put it in the decent category. Shrek 1 and 2 are amazing. The third and fourth one get some unnecessary hate. They're not close to the first two, but they're still not awful movies. I still think they're really funny, and I laugh when I watch them. But the second one, man, I love the second one. I'm going to put Shrek in the great category for that. Then we've got the Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man. First two movies, I'm not adding anything new to the table. They're excellent. I love them. The third one is pretty bad, though. Even as a kid, I thought it was bad. But I am emotionally attached to this trilogy. I love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and I love that iconic Danny Elfman theme that we hear in this trilogy. The villains and the themes in these movies are great. I'm going to put it in nearly perfect. Then we've got Star Wars, which, if you weren't aware, I hated Rise of Skywalker. But I still love Star Wars, and so even watching Rise of Skywalker, no matter how much I hate it, I still love seeing the opening title and the words crawl on the screen. I love that, and I just love being in the Star Wars world. And you better believe it has an emotional attachment to my heart. I'm going to put it in the perfect category because no matter how much I dislike a Star Wars movie, at the end of the day, it's still a Star Wars movie, and so I just like it still. But that doesn't show any mercy to Rise of Skywalker. That movie sucks. The Superman series, I haven't seen this in ages. I've seen all of them, mostly the first one and the second one. From what I remember, everything after the second one is bad. It's hard because I don't remember much from this series. I have bits and fragments in my memories, but I have no desire to rewatch this series anytime soon. But I do remember liking the first two, so I'm just going to put it in the decent category. It's okay. Thor, first movie and second movie aren't amazing, but the third one is. But at the same time, I still enjoy the first one. I don't think it's as bad as other people say. I'm going to put it in the good category. Then we've got the Toy Story series. I wish I could say Toy Story trilogy, but I can't because there's a fourth movie now. If this was still the trilogy, then I would put it in a perfect category because I love the trilogy. The fourth one, to me, was a cash grab. I thought that it was so unnecessary. People make the argument that we needed an ending to Woody's story. I don't feel that way. I feel like the third Toy Story had a perfect ending to everyone's story. It was possibly the greatest movie series ending of all time, but then they made a fourth one, which I just didn't think was necessary. But because I still love the trilogy, I'm going to put it in nearly perfect. I don't hate the fourth one. I just think it was unnecessary. Twilight, do I even need to say anything? We're going to put it in bad. Unbreakable, controversial time. I don't like this trilogy. I really don't. The first one, Unbreakable, is just kind of dumb in my opinion, and the sun really annoys me. I would say Split was better than the first one, but at the same time, I just didn't like the movie. James McAvoy's performances, notice I said performances because he has split personalities. His performances were good. I thought they were really good, but I just didn't like the movie. And then Glass was awful. I'm going to put this in the bad category. And then we've got X-Men, which is kind of hard because you've got X-Men Days of Future Past, you've got First Class, X2, Logan. Those are all great movies. But then you also have movies like The Last Stand and Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, which was awful. Apocalypse is my least favorite of all of them. And then X-Men Origins Wolverine is just fun to watch because of how bad it is. I'm going to still put it in the good category because the movies that I do like, I really like, especially Days of Future Past. I love that movie. And so there you guys have it.
And for those who are wondering, here are my top 10 favorite movie series of all time ranked.
Thank you for watching it, and I'm sorry if I offended anyone with my opinions. Feel free to do this, and if you do it, then mention me. YouTube has this new feature where you can mention people, I believe, and so mention me, because I would love to see what your tier ranking is of all the movie series that you have seen. Our lists aren't going to be the same, but that's okay. I'm sure that we'll have, for the most part, similar lists. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.